Hello, learners. How are you all? I hope you are doing well and studying also. Guys, welcome to our YouTube channel Learn to Explore. I warmly welcomed you here with the sociology classes. Today, we are going to start the chapter 3 of sociology. Class 12th. The book is Indian Sociology, and we have already covered two chapters of this book. You can find the videos in the playlist. The link is given in the description below. So let's begin. Guys, please do like, share, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Learn to explore. So let's begin with the chapter 3rd of class 12th sociology. In the last chapter, we have studied about the demographic structure of Indian society. So today we are moving forward to chapter 3, which is social institutions, continuity and change. So here we are going to study about the social institution. So guys, please do like, share and subscribe to our channel to let us know that you are liking our content, and also don't forget to share with your friends so that it can reach to more and more people. So let's begin. In this chapter, our focus will be on three important institutions of Indian society, namely caste, tribe, and the family. So these are the institutions of prime importance in the Indian context, which we are going to study in this chapter. So let's begin first with the caste and caste system. Uh, Caste is an institution uniquely associated with the Indian subcontinent, while social arrangements producing similar effects have existed in other parts of the world. The exact form has not been found elsewhere. जो कास्ट है it is an unique institution to India, although it is an institution characteristic of Hindu society, having characteristics of Hindu society. Caste has also spread to the major non-Hindu communities of the Indian subcontinent also. It is a unique institution of Indian society, majorly have characteristics of Hindu society, yet spread it to non-Hindu communities also. The term derived from Portuguese word casta, which means pure breed. In other words, it also means a group community of people. Caste is also called jati in Indian context. You must have heard the word jati in India, anywhere in society, in your surroundings. Guys, I have made these notes from your original NCRTs and put it everything important in the point format. And whatever is more important, I have put it as it is given in the NCRT book. So you can rely on these notes and no need to worry about studying from other sources as well. For reference, you can see, but for exam point of view, you can rely on these, and the point format I have used to help you people to retain things for a long time and help you also in gaining more marks in exam. So let's moving forward. Jati is a generic term referring to species or kinds of anything ranging from inanimate objects to plants, animals and human beings. As you must have heard कि मनुष्य जाति या फिर कोई और जाति, तो जाति एक जेनरिक टर्म है जो स्पीशीज या काइंड के लिए यूज होती है बेसिकली. Whereas Varna literally means color. It is a name given to a fourfold division of Indian society, which is into Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Though this excludes a significant section of the population composed of outcasts, foreigners, slaves, conquered people, and others, sometimes referred to as Panchamas or the fifth category. But the people who are out of these four one system are considered as the part of Panchamas or the fifth category. The precise relationship between Varna and Jati has been the subject of much speculation and debate among many scholars. The most common interpretation is to treat Varna as a broad, India aggregative classification, while Jati is taken to be a regional or local subclassification involving a much more complex system consisting of thousands of castes and subcastes. So this is the difference between caste and varna. Caste is a closed system and varna is an open system. The caste started in India during post-Vedic period, while varna is from Vedic period. There are more than 3,000 castes and subcastes, while there are only four varnas. There is no social mobility in the caste, but in varna social mobility is present. Caste structure is very rigid as compared to varna. The most commonly cited defining features of caste are the following. Caste is determined by the birth. It is your ascribed status. It tells your ascribed status. It doesn't have anything related to with your achieved status or what your achievements are. It only tells about where you are born, which is not in your hand. So it is ascribed status. Caste groups are endogamous, means marriage is restricted to the members of the group. There is no exogamy allowed outside the caste group. Caste membership also involves rules about food and sharing. Rules like which kind of food you can take from which caste and which not. Caste involves a system consisting of many castes arranged in a hierarchy of rank and status. In theory, every person has a caste, and every caste has a specified place in the hierarchy of all castes. The hierarchical order of caste is based on the distinction between purity and pollution. Caste believes in the purity and pollution concept. So, this is about the features of caste we are studying here. Caste also involves subdivision within themselves. Means the caste almost always have subcaste, and sometimes subcaste also have subcaste. This is referred to as segmental organization. Castes were traditionally linked to occupations. Means there are something you must have heard called Kumhar Jati. People who used to do the work of pottery are belong to the Kumhar Jati. This is just for an example. You must have heard about others also. Also, there is no social mobility present in terms of occupation as it has a very rigid structure. Okay, guys, to get these notes you can join our telegram channel. Link is given in the description below, and each and every pdf that we have covered till now, each for every class, you can download from our telegram channel. This pdf also you can get from the telegram channel. Link is given in the description below. Please join in case you want this pdf notes. Okay, let's moving forward. Colonialism and caste. So, what was the situation of caste structure in colonial India? Scholars have agreed that all major social institutions, and especially the institutions of caste, underwent major changes during colonial period. In fact, some argued that what we know today as caste is more a product of colonialism, that of ancient Indian tradition. Some people believe what caste today is because of the policies of colonial government, and not more because of the ancient Indian tradition. Not all of the changes brought about were intended or deliberate. जो भी changes caste system की वजह से हुए हैं, not all are intended, okay, and neither all are deliberate. 1901 census under the direction of Herbert Risley was particularly important as it sought to collect information on the social hierarchy of caste, the social order of precedence in particular regions as to the position of each caste in the rank order. This effort had a huge impact on social perceptions of caste, and hundreds of petitions were addressed to the census commissioner by representatives of different castes claiming a higher position in the social scale and offering historical and scriptural evidence for their claims. What happened in the 1901 census is there was data collected based on social and cultural characteristics like caste. So there are many people, representative of many caste groups, went to census commissioner and claimed that they hold a higher position in the hierarchy of caste structure. by offering some historical evidences and scriptural evidences from to prove their claims. But when the British came to India, they were shocked by the two things: untouchability and the number of subcastes. As we have already seen that the caste structure and untouchability, these things are unique to the Indian subcontinent. So what happened after seeing these? The British decided to take some initiatives. First initiative was to census to make sure of number and sizes of the caste and subcaste. They want to get to know about the idea about how many castes are there, because they wanted to know the values, beliefs, custom, etc. of different sections of society to maintain the administration smoothly. Okay. Then they also introduced the three kinds of land settlements. The first is zamindari. In zamindari, or zamindars were appointed to collect tax on behalf of the British. They exploited the farmers and collected more tax than required. Then the next settlement system was Rayotwadi. They saw that there was a lot of exploitation in zamindari, so the head of the family collected revenue from the members. This ensures much less exploitation from the zamindari system, as tax were directly collected from rayot, means peasants, the real persons who are producing the crop. So there was no mediators. And the next was Mahalwari. Each village was appointed a head who collected taxes from the villagers, and this also ensured much less exploitation than the zamindari system. Okay, so these were the three land settlement systems introduced by British government in India. Also towards the end of colonial period, the administration also took an interest in the welfare of downtrodden castes, referred to as depressed class at that time. Depressed class. They were known as depressed classes at that time. It was a part of the efforts that the Government of India Act 1935 passed, which gave legal recognition to the list or schedules of castes and tribes marked out for special treatment by the state. This is how the terms scheduled tribes and scheduled castes came into being. What happened after the enactment of the Government of India Act 1935? Scheduled caste and scheduled tribes terms. These become the social groups, and got recognized through the rules in the law, in the later in the constitution also. So we can say that institution of caste underwent fundamental changes during the colonial period. Not just India, but the whole world was undergoing rapid change during this period due to the spread of capitalism and modernity. Okay, let's moving forward. What is the situation of caste in the present? You must have known that we today are living in the 21st century, and still people are following caste norms and believing in the something called endogamy, and not in the having food together. People still differentiate or discriminate with the lower caste groups even today, and even in the metropolitan cities like Delhi where we are living. Okay, so let's moving forward. What was the situation of caste first in during freedom struggle? Everyone came together, including the lower caste people. There was nothing like only upper caste people helped to India to get freedom. All class people and all caste people helped and worked together, fought together for the freedom. Names used for lower caste at time was Shudras, untouchables, Harijans, scheduled castes, Dalits, and whatnot. Many people fought for the upliftment of the Harijan and made it part of the national movement. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, Brahmins, B.R. Ambedkar fought for Dalits, Jyotibai Phule for Dalits, etc. Okay. Harijans should not be ill-treated, which include removal of untouchability and other social evils. These should be included in the national movement. These were the Mahatma Gandhi's views. Upliftment of Harijan was required, and even when Harijan were uplifted, the right and superiority of Brahmins will remain. This was the condition. In contemporary India, means after independence, on the one hand, the state was committed. State means the government. Here, in sociological terms, state equates to government and not like UP, Bihar, Chhattisgarh, etc. State equates to government. The state was committed to the abolition of caste and explicitly wrote this into the constitution. On the other hand, the state was both unable and unwilling to push through radical reforms which would have undermined economic basis for the caste inequality. So there are some steps taken by the state for the uh, purpose. So these are as follows: abolition of untouchability. The implementation of Article 17 was difficult initially because of upper caste people protest, but it was implemented, and in the constitution it is an punishable offense to discriminate with someone on the basis of caste and doing the untouchability. Okay, then in the Constitution of India, it is given that people should be given jobs without considering caste. It should be based on achievements and to promote the backward classes and to reserve their rights. Reservations for SCs and STs means scheduled caste and scheduled tribes are there, and it became the part of mainstream, leading to the upliftment of SCs and STs in the main society. In urban areas, industries were encouraged and job opportunities were given to the people irrespective of their caste and based on their skill and qualification. So here we are studying about the situation of different caste groups during during newly independent India and what government did to promote the interest of scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. I hope you are clear with this what I'm trying to convey you here. For any reference, you can check your original NCRT books and no need to go for the 10 other resources. Even if even if we look at today, in small areas, etc., people still offer jobs based on one's caste. For example, in SP of Miss Mayawati, there are 80% Dalits. So these political parties are moreover representatives of just one caste group and not of the society. Okay. Guys, this is given in the NCRT and I have not put it anything extra out of my mind. Okay, the two aspects where caste is still important: marriage. Rural areas, honor killings for intercaste marriage can be seen even today. Urban areas, intercaste marriages are now accepted. Politics, reservation in education system, parties, etc. It is called the politicization of caste. There is provision of reservation in education for the SCs and STs. Because political parties use it for their purpose. So it is known as the politicization of caste. I'm not saying reservation is bad. I'm saying political parties used it for their own interest. So this is the politicization of caste and not providing reservation. That is the good thing. But politicization is using something for their self-interest. What political parties are doing today. Okay. Then there is something called happened like Sanskritization as described by M.N. Srinivas. So what Sanskritization means? It means when the when the lower caste tries to copy or imitate the model of upper caste without changing their caste. When they try to copy the so-called upper caste, the process is known as Sanskritization. So, what are the advantages and disadvantages steps taken by government and the policies? We are going to continue in the next class. So, till then, keep revising and stay tuned. And also, guys, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And in case, as I have already told you, and in every class, I said that in case you have any doubt, any complaint, any suggestion, please do let me know in the comment section below. And if you are liking the content and liking my video, please do let me know in the comment section. Thank you. Stay tuned, stay safe, have a good day, and keep studying. Thank you.